Yes, the group stages for my favorite competition in the world, the Champions League, have just been announced, which means it's time for some of my favorite music. The champion! And it means I'm going to do what I do best, and that's make some predictions about how these groups are going to go and which two teams in each group are going to make it to the round of 16. Now, the last 2 years, I've gotten 13 out of 16 teams right, so I'm hopeful that I can improve upon that this time around because, let's be honest, for a prediction god like myself, 13 out of 16 is not good enough. So in Group A, it's PSG, Real Madrid, Club Brugge, and Galatasaray. And actually, before I get into that, this is how it's going to go down for all my predictions. First, I'm going to name a favorite to win the group. Then, a just good enough team who will finish in second and just be good enough to get to the round of 16. And then I'm going to name a team that prefers to play in the Europa League, which is your reward for finishing in third in the group stages, if you didn't know that. Before I round out my group predictions with a team that has absolutely zero chance of finishing in the top three. Is that cool? Cool. And the favorite for me in Group A is not PSG. It's Real Madrid because, listen, yes, I know they haven't been the same since Cristiano Ronaldo left, but they have won 3 out of the last 5 Champions League trophies with their current core of players, Sergio Ramos, Marcelo, Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, Benzema, etc. Did I say Kroos right? Kroos? I think that's the way you say it. And with this manager, Zinedine Zidane, which is key. And then if you add in Hazard, Jovic, Mendy, Militao, and Rodrigo, they're going to win this group no problem. Which means PSG are my just good enough team. And okay, fine. They're better than just good enough, and they should challenge Madrid for the top spot. But with Neymar on his way out, and key players like Mbappe and Cavani already sustaining injuries this season, maybe this won't be as easy as it looks on paper, but they will get to the round of 16 and then most likely lose after having a big lead in leg 1 because that's what they do. You know it, I know it, and I got the jokes, okay? And then for my team that prefers to play in the Europa League, I'm going with Galatasaray. And yes, I know the Champions League final is being held in Istanbul this season, and obviously that would mean a ton for any Turkish club to play in that final. But any team that has Ryan Babel on their squad just seems destined for Europe's second biggest competition. I'm sorry. And then in the absolutely no chance department, it has to be Club Brugge. Because listen, even though they won the Belgian double 2 seasons ago, they didn't win anything last season. Then they sold some of their best players and brought goalkeeper Simon Mignolet in. So you tell me how you think they're gonna do. Yeah, dead last. So I'm glad we're on the same page. And now for Group B, we've got Bayern Munich, Spurs, Olympiacos, and I don't know how to pronounce their name, but I'm gonna try anyway. Crvena Zvezda. Was that right? Probably not, but I'm trying. And isn't that what matters? Anyway, let's keep this one nice and tidy because despite Spurs making it to the Champions League final last season, only to take a big poop once they got there, I don't think they're the favorites because that spot is being reserved for Super Bayern Munich, even though Bayern seemed to be going through a bit of a transitional period this season as they shed some legends and add some young players. That said, I like their vibe this season. They seem hungry. And this isn't to say that Spurs aren't hungry because the club finally made some signings and they were good ones like Ndembele, Sessegnon, and Lo Celso, which for me indicates that they're pushing for more this season, but they don't seem to have that same swagger about them yet. And maybe that's because they just lost to my Newcastle at home, which is unacceptable because Newcastle aren't very good. I mean, they're managed by Steve Bruce. Have some respect for yourself. So it's made me feel a little bit different about them, and I'm talking about Spurs again, and their chances. But I know the season has just started, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Also, just to throw this out there, I think Robert Lewandowski is a better striker than Harry Kane. Yeah, I said it, so come at me. So for this reason, and for a few others, I think Bayern are the favorites, while Spurs will easily finish in second because as much as I respect what Olympiacos and Crvena bring to the table, they ain't it, chief. That's still a phrase. People still, they don't use that. Anyway, I think Crvena, who didn't lose any games in the Serbian league last season, they won 27 and drew 3 with a plus 64 goal difference, which is insane, before cruising along in their 16 playoff as well, where they only lost 1 game to become champions. Well, I think they've proven that they have a winner's mentality, which I really like and admire, and I think that mindset is going to help them finish ahead of Olympiacos. Yeah, change my mind, Greek fans. You can't. And then in Group C, it's Manchester City, a team that City always seemed to face in the Champions League, Shakhtar Donetsk, a team that City should be able to beat with little to no trouble, Dinamo Zagreb, and the team that City might have some trouble with, if only because this team is playing in the Champions League for the first time in their history, Atalanta, and they might not know that much about them, but let's be honest, who am I kidding? City's gonna kick their ass too because City are way too good, which makes them the clear favorites. Which means the most interesting story about this group is who is going to be just good enough to get second and get into the round of 16. Now, the smart money would be to bet on Shakhtar because they have a solid history of playing in Europe and they're coming off winning the double last season. But they got a new manager coming in and that could throw them off a bit. And I'm saying this because, and I hate to break this to you, Dinamo Zagreb, but you're not part of this who is finishing in second conversation because you're getting dead last. You got absolutely no chance. So I'm going to keep my focus on who is getting in second. And I know it's their first time in the competition and that Shakhtar is probably the right pick to finish in that spot, but I really like Atalanta. By finishing in third last season in Serie A, which was a tremendous accomplishment, in which they did by scoring a ton of goals, which, fun fact for you, they ended up being the highest scoring team in the whole league, beating out the high-powered attacks of Juve and Napoli. They showed Italy what they're capable of, and now they're going to get the opportunity to show the rest of Europe too. And since they kept 95% of their core players intact from last season and added striker Luis Muriel, who already scored 2 goals for the club in his first ever game for them in the league, I think they've gotten better, which for me makes them the easy choice to finish in second. And Shakhtar, I'm so sorry, but you're going to finish in third. And then in Group D, it's Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, and Lokomotiv Moscow. And let's just call this the D's Nuts group because if you remember, in last season's Champions League knockout rounds, Juve played Atleti, and after Atleti won leg 1 2-0, Atleti manager Diego Simeone made that ball-grabbing gesture, you know? Yeah! But then, Juve came back and beat them 3-0 in leg 2 to knock Atleti out, and Cristiano Ronaldo did the ball-grabbing gesture in return. Yeah! Which means I can't wait for more ball-grabbing in Group D's Nuts when these two play each other again, and we get to see it happen twice, which is awesome. Though honestly, I don't know who the favorite is in this group, especially since Juve got a new manager, Maurizio Sarri, who, in fairness to him, is fresh off of winning the Europa League, so he now knows what's needed to win these types of competitions, and he's got an incredible amount of talent at his disposal to make it happen, but still, new philosophies and new methodologies, those take time to take shape. With that said, Atleti don't have their longtime captain Diego Godin anymore, and that makes me sad because I love that dude. I know he's with Inter, but still. Or Antoine Griezmann, who was their best player, but they might have just made the signing of the summer, in my humble opinion, by capturing João Felix, who might be even better than advertised. He is that good. I got to see him play in person this summer, and he is excellent. And in fact, I think he might be a better fit for the other two Atleti strikers, Alvaro Morata and Diego Costa, than Griezmann was. So, after careful consideration, I gotta go with the team that has the best player in Champions League history, Cristiano Ronaldo, on their team, and that is Juve. They're gonna finish in first. Atleti's gonna get second, and in third, who have no choice. Their hand has been forced. They have to prefer the Europa League this season instead because they just happen to be in a group with two of the better clubs in the world. It's Bayer Leverkusen, who I like. I think they're solid, and I'm a big Kai Havertz and Leon Bailey fan. But yeah, I mean, maybe I would give them a chance in a one-off game against one of the two big clubs, maybe. But over 6 games in the group, I just don't know if they have the depth to compete in this and their leagues. So yeah, they're gonna get third. And Lokomotiv, though I love your name, you have absolutely no chance. Next group, and that next group is Group E, which includes the defending Champions League winners Liverpool and a team in Napoli that is managed by a man who has won the Champions League on 3 different occasions, and a team in RB Salzburg that is being managed by Jesse Marsch, who will become the first American to ever manage in the Champions League group stages, which is a very big deal. And then there's Genk. Hank. Jank. You know what? I don't know how to say it, but what I do know is that it roughly translates into getting fourth in the group in English. Boom! Roasted. But anyway, let's start from the top, and that's with the favorite Liverpool, because listen, anytime you get to the Champions League final 2 seasons ago and then win the Champions League the season after that, not only are you the favorite to win your group, you're the favorite to win the whole goddamn tournament. And as for Napoli, come on, they got second wrapped up. They didn't lose anyone of consequence in the transfer window, which is a bit of a surprise because I thought Koulibaly would have been gone for sure, and maybe even Mertens or Insigne if I'm being real honest with myself. And instead, they held on to those guys and picked up Manolas to solidify their defense and Chucky Lozano to give them some different looks in attack, and I love both of these signings. So not only will Napoli be just good enough to qualify for the knockout rounds, I think they're going to be a team that no one wants to face in the round of 16. And as for third and fourth in this group, I know that I said that Genk, Hank, Jank will get last, but they might not. I just can't go against a friend of mine in Jesse Marsch, who will be making history for us Americans when he steps on the field as manager of Salzburg in their first Champions League match because, like I said before, it is a really big deal. And I want to stay positive no matter how strong his team is or isn't. And if it doesn't go well in the group stages, I still want him to qualify for the Europa League. So this is all about positive vibes. Sorry, Gang Hang Jank. And now we get to one of the three groups of death, in my opinion, Group F, which includes Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, and Slavia Prague. Now, I've been informed by a friend that any group that has Slavia Prague in it can't be considered a group of death, which, come on, man. Ease up on the disrespect to Slavia Prague because I won't stand for it. But you're probably right, so maybe this isn't the group of death. However, the favorites for me are clear, and it's Barcelona because they've dealt with tough groups before. 3 seasons ago, they had Man City, Celtic, and Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they won that group. Then 2 seasons ago, they had Juventus, Sporting, and Olympiacos, and they won that group, though that doesn't seem all that hard. But compared to last season when they had Spurs, PSV, and Inter, that was a lot more difficult, and they won that group too. So it's what they do. They win groups. So then let's talk about who's going to get in second, because it gets a little trickier with these next 2 teams, because Dortmund topped a tough group, outlasting Atleti on goal difference last season, but they got smashed over 2 legs by a Tottenham team that was in peak form in the round of 16. So it's really hard to say with these guys, even with their additions of Thorgan Hazard, Julian Brandt, Nico Schultz, and the return of Mats Hummels. And that's because the other team that I'm referencing here, Inter Milan, made some improvements to their squad as well, with the biggest name being Romelu Lukaku. But maybe even more important than that is the arrival of their new manager, Antonio Conte, who is a proven winner wherever he goes, so I fully expect him to have success, even in his first season. However, times 2, and outside of one anomaly in Jurgen Klopp's last season in charge, Dortmund are always money during the first half of the season, at which point they usually lead Bayern in the Bundesliga table as well. And then the winter break hits, and then after the winter break, they fall apart. Bayern wins the league, and they get bounced out of the Champions League in the knockout rounds. Yeah, it's what they do. Whereas with Inter, even though, as I mentioned, I expect Inter to be much improved, it's still pretty early into Conte's tenure to expect too much. Next season, though, watch out. I think Inter will be the team everyone will want to avoid, but that's next season. So this season, I got Dortmund finishing in second, Inter in third, and of course, Slavia saying hi in last. But at least they'll get to enjoy 3 big clubs coming to visit their beautiful city, and if they can nick some points off of these clubs while those clubs are visiting, more power to them. And now let's talk about a real group of death, Group G, because a real group of death is so wide open that anyone can win it. And when I list off the names of this group, Zenit, Benfica, Lyon, and RB Leipzig, I might as well be flipping a coin because I got no idea. Sure, Zenit are the reigning champions of the Russian league, and they've made signings this summer to help bolster their squad, but this is their first time in the Champions League group stages in 4 years. And we all know how I feel about Portuguese teams in European competitions. You can't sleep on them. So I expect Benfica to take full advantage of this manageable group, but still, after watching them lose to their hated rivals Porto at home recently 2-0, maybe they're not as strong as I thought they were. While Lyon, who have their own manager Inho in charge, by the way, in Silvinho, and an Inho sporting director in Juninho, which you know makes me a big fan because Inho forever. And this is a career mode joke, by the way, for anyone who has no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Well, this club, Lyon, they lost arguably 3 of their best players over the summer in Tanguy and Dembele, Nabil Fekir, and Fernand Mendy. And I don't feel like they adequately replaced those guys, so who really knows which version of this team is going to show up. And finally, with RB Leipzig, their biggest move was in securing the genius of 32-year-old manager Julian Nagelsmann, who I think is going to find a way to take this club to the next level in the Bundesliga. But is he ready to tackle Europe too in his first season in charge? I have so many questions that don't have enough answers yet, but I know they will obviously be answered as the season goes along. So man, this is the toughest group to call so far. But I think it'll end up being the most entertaining to watch because it is so wide open. Also, this is me stalling because I'm not ready to make decisions. But fine, okay, fine, I'll make some decisions. Benfica's gonna get in first. RB Leipzig's gonna get in second, Zenit in third, and Lyon in fourth. Don't hate me, Lyon. And finally, we arrive to the last group, Group H, which has Chelsea, Ajax, Valencia, and Lille. And now that I say those names out loud, I think this could be the deathiest of the group of deaths because Chelsea, though reigning Europa League winners, minus Eden Hazard of course, still seem to be figuring things out under Super Frank Lampard, which could take a while. While Ajax, though the darlings of last season's Champions League with their stylish and highly effective way of playing, and I still can't believe that they pissed away their chance to be in the Champions League final to Spurs in the second half of the second leg of the semifinals in Amsterdam. I mean, how? Well, I know Lucas Moura is how, but how did they let that happen? Anyway, they lost two of their best players this summer in De Ligt and De Jong, who aren't easy to replace. And I don't know what the makeup of this team is going to be. I know they have a lot of their core players, but are they still going to be the same without those two guys? I mean, they're always a team in transition, right? They develop, they sell, they develop, they sell, but still. And then with Valencia, after a tumultuous season of firing and then rehiring their manager Marcelino, who started their downfall last year, which led to him getting sacked, but then, upon his return, he also led their improbable comeback to finish in 4th on the last day of the season so they could qualify for this competition. They seem so hot and cold to me, and they haven't started the season well either, earning only a single point in their first 2 games in La Liga, so I get the feeling we're going to see more of the same this season from this club. And finally, there is Lille, who, similar to their French counterparts Lyon, sold some of their best players over the summer, most notably Nicolas Pepe to Arsenal, and that's going to have an impact on their team, given how important he was to how they had success going forward. And I'm not sure new signings Renato Sanchez and American international Timothy Weah can fill his boots just yet, though I'm hopeful that Weah can do it one day. So go on, Timothy Weah. Also, for what it's worth, these last 2 groups are really going to make or break whether I best the predictions I made over the last 2 years when I got 13 out of 16 right. So I need to be thoughtful here and not go with my heart for the first time ever. I need to go with my head. But my heart says Valencia are going to get second because I love me some Kevin Gameiro and he's on their team. And this team, by the way, proved that they could do well in one-off competitions when they won the Copa del Rey last season, but this isn't the one-off part of this competition yet, you idiot. It's the group stage. So all right, I think I'm putting way too much pressure on myself because I want to be better than I was the year before. I mean, every day I try to be better than I was the day before. That's the mentality I had when I was a player, and I still do it now because I find it's hard to shake those habits and discipline. Anyway, I'll go Ajax first, Chelsea in second, Valencia in third, and Lille in fourth. You happy now? Anyway, that is it. That is all I got. So thank you for the support as always. Come back to the channel often, and I wouldn't be upset if you hit that subscribe button while also remembering to turn on the notifications for my channel. That would mean a lot. And then finally, let me know how many of the 16 predictions that I made that you think I'm going to get right. Do you think I'm going to beat 13? I think I will, but sometimes I live in fantasy land and not in reality. So maybe you guys can bring me back down to earth. So hit me up with your answers, and thanks again for watching. Later.